Be still and know. My friends, as you sit there tonight, wherever you may be, let us begin not with effort, not with strain, but with a gentle surrender. For nothing in your outer world needs to change before the change within you begins. The world you touch, the world you see, the world that greets you when you rise in the morning and folds itself around you as the day unfolds. This world is but the shadow cast by your inner state. And so, before you attempt to alter the shadow, let us turn our attention to the light within. I invite you now to settle into yourself. Allow the body to rest just as it is. Do not command it. Do not force it. Simply permit it to be. Let the breath soften, not because you are trying to breathe deeply, but because you are ceasing to interfere. Life knows how to move through you. Consciousness knows how to still itself, if only you allow it. In my time, I have spoken often of this silence, this holy pause before creation. This stillness is the womb of all things. Before the world takes shape, before the desire appears as fact, before the prayer is answered in form, there is a moment, a quiet, sacred moment, where all power rests silently within you. And it is here, in this moment, that we now stand. For just a little while, drop the burden of becoming. You need not hurry. You need not reach. The world does not ask you to prove anything tonight. It does not demand accomplishment or explanation. It asks only that you be present. For in presence, creation begins. Be still and know. You may hear the faint sounds around you, the distant hum of life, the quiet murmur of a room, but these are not interruptions. They are part of the great tapestry of silence. Let everything be included. Let everything be as it is, and you remain as you are, the observer, the one who is aware, the one who imagines. You have attempted, perhaps for many years, to change the outer world by force, by effort, by pleading with circumstances to bend. And yet, I tell you, nothing in that outer realm possesses the power to alter itself. The movement must begin in consciousness. The shift must arise from within your own wonderful human imagination. So relax, rest your attention. Allow the tightness of the day to melt from your shoulders, the old conversations to dissolve, the memories of trouble to loosen their grip. There is no need to carry yesterday with you now. You are not the product of your past, you are the maker of your future. And that future begins in this very breath. In this stillness, you may feel something subtle, a gentle widening, a spaciousness behind the heart, a softening of the mind. This is not an accident. This is the natural condition of the creative spirit when it stops resisting itself. You are returning to the simple center of your being, the place from which all manifestation flows. Do not seek to quiet the mind by force. That too is effort, and effort reveals doubt. Rather, allow the thoughts to drift as clouds across the sky of your awareness. Watch them pass. You need not follow them. You need not argue with them. They cannot hold you unless you consent to them. Let them come, let them go, and beneath them, notice the stillness that never moves. That stillness is your true nature. That silence is the birthplace of every fulfilled desire. Now gently, without strain, allow yourself to feel the truth that nothing outside of you needs to change at this moment. You do not need the world's permission to create. You do not need the approval of men or the cooperation of circumstance. The power is already within you, waiting only for recognition. Feel that. Let the truth rest lightly in your awareness. All creation begins in the unseen. So be still and know. Know that the power you seek is the power you are. Know that the change you desire begins with a thought, a feeling, a quiet inner acceptance. And as you rest in this silence, you prepare the inner soil for the seed of your desire. Nothing is rushing, nothing is forced. Creation is effortless to the one who understands the law. Remain with this stillness for a moment more. Feel it absorbing into you, like water into dry ground. Feel yourself becoming receptive, open, ready. Your world will arise from this silence. Your future will be shaped from this stillness. And tonight, you and I shall move together from this quiet center into the reality you wish to claim. When you are ready, we shall continue. Now, this very moment is the only doorway through which creation enters your life. My friends, you may have thought that creation lies somewhere in the future, that once conditions improve, once circumstances align, once the world grants you some invisible permission, then you will finally begin to shape your life. But I tell you that waiting has no power. That waiting is an illusion woven by the senses. There is no future creation. There is only creation now. You are not preparing to create. You are creating now. Even as you sit here, even as you listen to the sound of my voice, you are assuming something about yourself. You are accepting a story, a role, an identity. And that identity, whether chosen consciously or adopted unconsciously, is the source from which your entire world unfolds. So I ask you gently, and with all the love and firmness of truth, who are you being in this moment? Not yesterday, not tomorrow, not when the bank balance changes, not when the letter arrives, or the healing appears, or the opportunity presents itself. Now, who are you being now? For you are always being something. Every moment of your life is shaped by an inner stance, an inner assumption, a quiet declaration of who you believe yourself to be. And it is that belief, not effort, not struggle, not circumstance, that writes the script of your life. The present moment is eternal. It is not the thin slice of time your clock declares. It is the living, breathing substance out of which all events are formed. When I say now, I do not speak of the ticking second, but of the eternal consciousness in which all possibilities live. If you could see reality as I have glimpsed it, you would understand that the past is but a memory stored in consciousness, and the future is but imagination waiting to be claimed. There is only this living moment, and you are creating from it, whether you know it or not. Consider this: the state you occupy right now is the seed of your tomorrow. If you occupy the state of lack now, tomorrow must show lack. If you occupy the state of abundance now, tomorrow must reveal it. If you occupy the state of being loved now, love must find you. If you occupy the state of fear now, fear must echo in your world. The world mirrors the moment. The outer follows the inner. There is no gap between the assumption and its eventual expression except the illusion of time. You may think, but Neville, how can I be living in the end when my senses scream the opposite? And I tell you, the senses are late reporters. They reveal what has already been accepted within. They are not the creators of your experience. They are the servants of your imagination. The present moment is the workshop. The world you see is only the finished product of yesterday's assumptions. And so, if you feel yourself pulled into worry or doubt, if you feel the mind running toward old memories or old failures, gently return to this moment. Return to now. For it is only here, in this living present, that you can choose again. Ask yourself with sincerity, what am I consenting to be right now? Am I consenting to be the one who waits, the one who doubts, the one who hopes but never claims? Or am I consenting to be the one who already is? This present moment will obey your decision. If you choose lack, the moment molds itself around that choice. If you choose wealth, the moment accepts that identity. If you choose health, love, confidence, clarity, this moment opens to you and becomes the fertile soil for that state. You do not need to convince the moment, you need only occupy it. And here is the great secret, one that many overlook. You are always occupying something. Whether you are conscious of it or not, you are assuming a state every second of your life. The question is not whether you are imagining, but what you are imagining. So let us bring this into the light. Let us examine gently, without judgment, the posture of your inner being. Are you living as one who expects good or one who expects delay? Are you living as the one who possesses or the one who hopes? Are you living as the one who knows or the one who questions? For your world cannot rise above the identity you now assume. It cannot bring you what you refuse to accept internally. This moment, this breath, is the only place where transformation occurs. You stand now at the threshold of infinite possibility. You may choose to remain as you have always been, repeating the same inner stories, the same quiet doubts, the same familiar limitations, or you may choose to become something new, someone new, right now. Identity precedes experience. Who you are being determines what you receive. And so, my friends, as we rest in this present moment, this holy instant, I invite you to make the quiet, radical decision to step into the state of your fulfilled desire, not tomorrow, not later tonight. Now, feel the shift, even if subtle. Feel yourself settling into a new inner stance. Feel the truth that you need not wait for anything outside to change. Feel the power of knowing that creation starts and ends within you. You are not preparing to create. You are creating now. And from this now, we move forward. The great law upon which every teaching of mine rests is startling in its simplicity, yet infinite in its reach. Your consciousness creates your reality. Not sometimes, not occasionally, not when conditions permit, always. I have said it for decades, and I will say it again now with the same certainty with which I speak my own name. Imagination creates reality. This is not poetic metaphor. It is a literal, experiential truth. A truth that reveals itself the moment you dare to test it. The world you call physical is not the cause of your experience. It is the effect. It is not the sculptor, it is the sculptor. It is not the seed, it is the harvest. All that you see, all that you touch, all that you call fact, is nothing more than the solidified imprint of a state you once occupied within yourself. Do not think for a moment that the world exists independent of your inner life. The world you move through each day is but a shadow, a faithful, obedient shadow, cast by the assumptions you carry within. And a shadow cannot break free from the object that casts it. The object is your consciousness. The shadow is your reality. If you shift the object, the shadow must change. It has no choice. It has no will of its own. It is bound to the source that projects it. And so, when I say your world is yourself pushed out, I mean that all the conditions, events, relationships, and circumstances of your life are mirrors reflecting your inner state. If you believe yourself to be unworthy, life will enact that belief through people and situations that seem to deny you. If you assume yourself to be fortunate, doors will open where walls once stood. If you conceive of yourself as secure, life will reflect stability even in the midst of seeming chaos. Consciousness is the only reality. The outer world is but an echo. Many come to me saying, "Neville, I want to change my finances, or I want to change my relationships, or I want to change my career." And I tell them gently, but with unwavering firmness, you cannot change the shadow by trying to manipulate the shadow. You cannot rearrange the outer and expect the inner to follow. It is the inner that commands, and the outer that obeys. Consider a lantern. Move the lantern, and the shadows on the wall must shift. Try to move the shadows themselves, and you will exhaust yourself in futility. So it is with life. You are holding the lantern. You are the light. You are the imagination through which all things are formed. If you wish for something to change in the outer world, you must go within and change the state from which you live. Every desire you hold is already a spiritual fact, a version of yourself that already exists in the realm of imagination. But it is not yours until you occupy the consciousness of the one who already has it. The world will not bring it to you until you bring yourself to it. And here lies a mystery, one that very few understand. You do not manifest what you want. You manifest what you are. Wanting is a state. Having is a state. Being is a state. And the world simply reflects the state you consistently occupy. If you live in the state of wanting, you will receive more wanting. If you live in the state of lack, you will meet more lack. If you live in the state of abundance, abundance must come. This is law, as certain as gravity. I once told my students in New York, a man's faith is measured by his confidence in himself. I did not mean confidence in the personality, or the intellect, or the physical body. I meant confidence in the creative power of one's own imagination. For imagination is God in action. It is the divine shaping of substance. When you imagine with feeling, you are not daydreaming, you are creating. You are impressing your desired state upon the subconscious, which is the womb of all reality. And once impressed, it must be expressed. If you could see the invisible roots behind your visible life, you would understand that every moment of imagination is a moment of creation. Every inner conversation is a seed. Every assumption is a blueprint. Every feeling entertained becomes a command to the unseen forces of your world. Your environment, your relationships, your finances, your health, none of these hold power over you. They are not masters. They are servants. They are not independent. They are projections. And so the question is not, how do I change the world, but rather, what am I accepting as true of myself? For it is that acceptance, not effort, not struggle, that crystallizes as your life. Your world is yourself pushed out. What you assume within, you meet without. This is the law. This is the truth that frees. And once you know it, not as theory, but as lived experience, you can never again blame another, fear circumstances, or bow before the tyranny of appearances. You become the master of your fate, not by controlling the outer, but by assuming dominion over the inner. Let this truth sink into you, gently, deeply, like a seed falling upon fertile soil. Imagination creates reality. You are imagining your world into being, and in the quiet places of consciousness, you may choose a new state, and watch the shadow rearrange itself in perfect obedience. Effort, my friends, is the clearest sign that you have not yet accepted the reality of your desire. Whenever you find yourself straining, trying, pushing, forcing, know that you are acting from the state of not having, for no man strives for that which he truly believes he already possesses. Effort belongs to doubt. Rest belongs to faith. I have said countless times in my lectures, both in New York and Los Angeles, that creation is finished. Everything you could ever desire already exists in the eternal now, waiting only for you to assume its reality. You do not create the desire. The desire is the whisper of what already is. Your task is not to build the bridge, but to walk across it in consciousness, to assume and then to rest. Observe a man who knows. Observe the way he moves, the way he speaks, the way he breathes. There is no urgency in him, no tension, no frantic grasping. His steps are quiet. His mind is still. He is not racing toward his desire, for he knows he already stands at its end. Contrast this with the man who doubts. He repeats affirmations as if trying to convince himself of something he does not quite believe. He looks constantly for signs, checks constantly for movement, measures his progress against the outer world. Every action he takes, no matter how earnest, is rooted in the silent confession, I do not yet have, and so the world, which only mirrors his inner state, must echo back, you do not yet have. Effort creates delay. Struggle expands distance. Trying strengthens the belief that your desire lies outside of you. But when you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, gently, quietly, naturally, then rest follows as the night follows the day. You sink into the end. You allow the state to clothe you. You relax into the knowing that what you have imagined is already yours. Relaxation is not laziness. It is confidence. Rest is not inaction. It is certainty. When you enter the state of being the one who already possesses your desire, you no longer fight against appearances, because appearances are irrelevant. You no longer search for signs, because the only sign you need is the feeling within. You no longer cling to the future, for the future has folded itself into your present. You simply rest. I cannot emphasize this enough. Effort betrays the secret. The moment you begin to try, you declare that you have not yet become, but when you relax, when you let go of striving, you move into alignment with the truth that creation is already accomplished. Think of a woman who knows she is loved. She does not seek proof. She does not analyze every gesture, every word. She rests in the certainty of love, and the world responds by confirming it. So it is with wealth, with success, with health, with every desire of man. Relax into the end. To relax is to release the tension that comes from dwelling in the state of separation. To relax is to soften into the identity of the one who already is. To relax is to surrender the burden of how and abide in the simplicity of already done. And here lies a great mystery, one that only the bold discover. When you cease striving, the manifestation begins to move toward you. When you stop reaching, it arrives. When you stop searching, it reveals itself. When you stop trying, you become the one for whom everything is effortless. This is the secret of effortless manifestation. Assume, then rest. Take on the end as naturally as you take on a garment. Feel its truth. Wear it lightly. And then, Release all effort. For the moment, you accept the end as real. The universe, your own subconscious, your own limitless imagination, begins rearranging itself to reflect your new identity. Relax into the end, my friends, and let the world fulfill what you have already accepted as true. In the beginning was the Word. Those words, spoken in the opening lines of Scripture, are not the record of an ancient event, but the revelation of an eternal principle. They point not to history, but to the inner workshop of creation within every man and woman. The word is not a sound uttered by the lips. It is the state assumed within consciousness. It is the silent declaration of I am. And it is this inner word that shapes the world you call reality. When I speak of the word, I speak of the awareness you hold of yourself. For every sentence you utter in the silence of your mind begins with the great creative cause, I am. And whatever follows those two words, whether spoken loudly or whispered in the secrecy of thought, becomes the seed of your future. Observe yourself for a moment. What do you say inwardly when the bill arrives? What do you say inwardly when you see an opportunity? What do you say inwardly when you look into the mirror, or when you imagine tomorrow? In every case, you will discover an unspoken phrase beginning with I am. I am worried, I am uncertain, I am trying, I am waiting, I am afraid. These inner words are not meaningless. They are commands. The world responds, not to the sounds of your lips, but to the words behind your eyes. This is the profound truth so often missed. Your inner word is the creative act. When I began my work, I watched countless students struggle because they believed that their outer speech or their repeated affirmations held the power. But the outer word without the inner state is like a shell without a seed. It carries no life. It bears no fruit. But when the inner word and the inner state are aligned, when the I am is spoken with feeling, then creation begins. I recall a woman who came to my lectures in San Francisco many years ago. She lived in perpetual anxiety over money, always fearing that something would go wrong. She spoke often of wanting abundance, trying to manifest more, hoping for relief. Yet within herself, her silent word was always, I am struggling. And so life could only mirror that assumption. I told her gently, change the inner word, and the world will change itself. Not by force, not by manipulation, but by law. She took those words to heart. She began to watch her inner speech, to listen quietly to the phrases she repeated without even noticing. And she found that every thought of money was accompanied by a quiet, habitual statement, I am worried. Once she recognized it, she replaced it, not through strain, but through the gentle persistence of faith. Each time the old phrase rose within her, she replaced it with a new sentence, I am provided for. At first, she felt nothing. The words seemed empty. But she continued, allowing the feeling of provision to settle into her. After a week, her body began to relax. After 2 weeks, she felt a lightness she had not known in years. And after 3 weeks, her circumstances shifted. A job offer, an unexpected check, a debt forgiven. She wrote to me saying, Neville, it feels as though the world changed overnight. But I told her the truth. The world changed the moment you changed the inner word. For the inner word is the law. The outer world is the echo. Another gentleman, a young actor in New York, once confessed to me that he had been waiting years for a breakthrough. He believed he was talented. He worked tirelessly, yet nothing opened for him. I asked him, what do you say of yourself when you walk into an audition? Without thinking, he replied, I am nervous. I am unknown. I am not ready. I am trying to impress. And so the world, being nothing but his consciousness, pushed out, presented to him the same verdict. Nervous, unknown, unprepared, unseen. I told him, before you step on the stage, step into the state. Say within yourself, I am chosen. And let that inner word clothe your being. He did. He told me that the first time he practiced this, he felt foolish, for nothing outside had changed. But the second time, he felt a spark. The third time, a quiet certainty. Within 2 months, he received a role that changed the course of his life. not because of charm, not because of luck, but because the inner word changed. When scripture says, "Let the weak say, I am strong," it is not giving encouragement, it is revealing the law. The weak man is instructed to declare the opposite, not to deceive himself, but to assume the state that produces strength. Whatever follows "I am" becomes your world. Say, "I am wealthy," and you are not pretending. You are planting a seed. Say, "I am secure," and the world must shape itself to that declaration. Say, "I am loved," and love will find its channels to reach you. The inner word is the first cause of every outer event, and the greatest tragedy is not that people speak negatively, it is that they speak unconsciously. They do not hear what they are saying inwardly. They do not recognize that every idle inner conversation builds their tomorrow. They believe life happens to them, not through them. But once they awaken, once they hear the silent word, they reclaim the power that was always theirs. Now listen closely. The true word is not a sentence. It is a state of being expressed through the words you allow yourself to accept. When you speak the inner "I am" with conviction, you are not describing your life, you are authoring it. And if you begin now to guide your inner word, to shape it with intention rather than habit, you will discover that circumstances bend, people shift, opportunities appear, and the world becomes the mirror of a new assumption, for in truth, it always was. There is a vast difference, my friends, between desiring a thing and assuming it. Desire is the state of yearning, of reaching, of stretching out towards something believed to be distant. Assumption is the state of being. Desire says, "one day." Assumption says, "now." Desire places your good in the future. Assumption brings it into the present. Most people live their entire lives in desire, earnest, sincere desire, but never cross the threshold into assumption. They want, they hope, they pray, but inwardly they continue to say, "I do not yet have," and so the world, being only a mirror, faithfully echoes, "You do not yet have." But the moment you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the very moment you occupy the end, you become the one who already possesses the desire. And life must reorganize itself around that state. Living in the end is the great secret. Living in the end is creation. Living in the end is the law in action. Let me make this very plain. You do not manifest what you want. You manifest what you are. If you are being the one who lacks, no matter how passionately you desire abundance, the world must reflect lack. If you are being the one who waits, no matter how sincerely you hope, the world must offer delay. But if you are being the one who already has, quietly, naturally, without strain, then the world must present to you the corresponding facts. Living in the end is the art of relocating your identity. Instead of seeing yourself as the seeker of the desire, you become the one who has fulfilled it. You do not imagine the steps, you imagine the result. You do not work out the process. You accept the completion, you plant yourself at the finish line, and from that point, you breathe, speak, think, and act as though the desire were already realized. This is not delusion, it is creation. Creation begins in consciousness and ends in form. I have guided many students through this practice, and I will guide you now. For it is not enough to hear the concept, you must experience it. Close your eyes for a moment and take a gentle breath. Not a forced breath, but a natural one, as though you are settling into a comfortable chair at the end of a long day. Feel your shoulders drop, feel the tension melt, for you cannot live in the end while clinging to the state of struggle. Now allow yourself to see, not with the eyes of the body, but with the eyes of imagination. A simple scene that implies your desire is already fulfilled. Not a grand scene, not a complicated one. A small, natural moment that would be true if your desire were fact. If your desire is wealth, perhaps the scene is a friend congratulating you. Or perhaps it is the soft sound of an envelope being opened, and the feeling of relief washing over you. Or maybe it is simply the calm certainty as you check a bank balance and feel no tension at all. Choose one simple scene, one moment, one snapshot of the fulfilled desire. Do not watch it from afar. Step into it. Feel the floor beneath your feet. Hear the quality of your friend's voice. Sense the warmth of the room, the texture of the envelope, the joy in your chest. Taste the subtle sweetness of relief as your shoulders relax into certainty. This is the end. This is fulfillment. This is the state that creates. Now linger there. Don't rush. Allow the scene to repeat itself gently, like a lullaby. The repetition is not mechanical. It is natural, rhythmic, calming. You are not forcing anything. You are accepting. You are surrendering to the reality of the fulfilled desire. Notice something profound. In this state, you do not crave the desire. You do not chase it. You do not reach for it. You are it. This is the great transformation, becoming the one who already has. You are no longer imagining getting the money. You are imagining what it feels like to have already received it. You are no longer imagining healing. You are imagining the gratitude of having already been healed. You are no longer imagining the relationship. You are imagining the comfort, the ease, the companionship of being already loved. Living in the end is not about the scene. It is about the feeling behind the scene. It is about the identity the scene awakens in you. Let me tell you of a woman who once attended my lectures in Harlem. She longed for financial freedom. She had struggled for years, carrying the weight of self-doubt and inherited beliefs of lack. When I asked her what she had been imagining, she confessed that she spent her nights imagining how the money might come, what job, what opportunity, what venture, what miracle. And yet the money never came. I told her, "You are living in the means, not the end. Leave the means entirely to God, your own wonderful human imagination. Your task is to occupy the end." So she did exactly what you are doing now. She imagined a single scene, a phone call from her sister, congratulating her on her financial breakthrough. She didn't imagine the check. She didn't imagine the job. She didn't imagine the source. She imagined the result. Night after night, she lived in that phone call, heard the voice, felt the joy, tasted the fulfillment. Within 6 weeks, an investment she had long forgotten matured unexpectedly, bringing her far more than she had ever dared to hope for. She told me with tears in her eyes, "Neville, the moment the call came, I knew I had already lived it." Living in the end is the birthplace of miracles. Now take another gentle breath. See your own micro scene again. Let it feel familiar. Let it feel natural. Let it feel like home. For the moment the state becomes natural, the moment it feels like, of course, your world must bend to accommodate it. To live in the end is to live as the fulfilled version of yourself, quietly, confidently, without strain. And when you live in the end, life cannot help but deliver it. What you are in consciousness, you will become in form. And so, my friends, rest in your end. Live in it. Feel it. Breathe it. For the end is the seed from which the harvest must come. Feeling, my friends, is the one and only secret. Not words, not effort, not technique. Feeling. For feeling is the soul of the assumption. It is the lifeblood of creation. Without it, your imaginal act is but a hollow shell, a statue without breath. But when feeling enters the scene, the imagination becomes a living thing, vibrant, fertile, irresistible. I have told my students for years, you must feel the wish fulfilled before it appears in form, not after. Not when evidence shows itself. Before. For nothing appears in your world unless it is first felt within as true. Most people believe that feeling follows the event. They think, when I receive the money, then I will feel relieved. When I am healed, then I will feel whole. When I am loved, then I will feel cherished. But this is the great reversal. This is why their desires remain distant shadows. They wait for the world to change before they change their inner atmosphere. Yet the law is exact. If the event produces the feeling, then the feeling must produce the event. To feel already done is to give birth to the desire. To feel already mine is to impress the subconscious. To feel already accomplished is to invite the world to mirror that certainty. So how do you generate this feeling? How do you shift from wanting to having, from hoping to knowing? You do not force it. You do not strain for it. You allow it, gently. Feeling is not created by effort. It rises from the scene you accept as true. Let me guide you now. I want you to sit back if you are able, and let your body soften. Feel the weight of yourself resting upon the chair, the bed, or whatever holds you. There is no need to control the breath. Let it fall of its own accord, like a wave retreating from the shore. Now imagine that the desire you hold, whatever it may be, has already been fulfilled. Not as a distant possibility, not as a future event, but as an accomplished fact. Imagine that you have already received the call, opened the envelope, seen the numbers, heard the good news. Let the atmosphere of that moment surround you. Perhaps you find yourself standing in your living room, holding a letter in your hand. The sunlight is soft through the window. The air is warm. You can smell the faint scent of paper and ink. As you open the envelope, you feel the crispness beneath your fingers. And as you read the words, a wave moves through your chest. Relief, gratitude, joy, disbelief, melting into certainty. Stay there. Do not rush, do not analyze. Just allow the feeling to rise. For it is not the letter that matters. It is the atmosphere. It is not the scene. It is the tone. It is not the details. It is the feeling of already done. Feeling does not come from imagination. It is imagination. It is imagination clothed with life. If your desire is wealth, feel the unmistakable calm of financial freedom, the loosening in the chest, the unhurried breath, the quiet inner smile that says, all is well. If your desire is health, feel the lightness in the body, the ease in movement, the gratitude that spills over when one knows wellness is restored. If your desire is love, feel the warmth of being chosen, valued, cherished. The outer scene is but a gateway. The inner feeling is the destination. I once worked with a man who longed for prosperity. He imagined the checks, the opportunities, the bank statements, but nothing changed. I told him, you are imagining the symbols, not the feeling. What you want is not the check. You want the relief the check brings. That very night, he imagined only one thing, the feeling of lying in bed with a sense of total financial ease spreading through him like warm light. Within weeks, his world shifted. Opportunities surfaced, debts dissolved, resources appeared, but it was not the images that created the change. It was the feeling of completion. Feeling is the secret. It always has been. Now let us deepen the visualization. Imagine yourself in a quiet room. Perhaps in the evening, a lamp glows softly in the corner. You are alone. Yet you feel accompanied, surrounded by an invisible presence that responds faithfully to your every inner movement. There is peace here, a profound stillness. In this room, your desire is already an accomplished fact. See yourself living after the manifestation. What are you doing? What subtle differences do you notice in your posture, your voice, your breathing? Are your shoulders not a little more relaxed? Is there not a softness around your eyes, a calmness in your heart? Let that feeling soak into your being. Let it become familiar. This is the state that creates. This is the womb of reality. This is the silent knowing that impresses the subconscious. Stay with it for a few more moments. Feel it deepen. Feel it settle. If thoughts try to intrude, let them pass like clouds. If doubt whispers, do not fight. Simply return to the feeling. If impatience arises, breathe and let it dissolve. Remember, you are not imagining the desire coming. You are imagining the desire fulfilled. And as you rest in this feeling, as you accept it as natural, you have already impressed the law. The harvest is inevitable. The world must align with the inner certainty. For feeling is the secret. And what you feel deeply, you become. There is a great law in this world, one that very few ever come to truly understand, and yet it governs every detail of their experience. I have called it the law of reversibility. It is simple, exact, and unfailing. If a certain feeling is the result of your desire fulfilled, then that same feeling, assumed and sustained now, will produce the fulfillment of the desire. If the answered prayer brings joy, then joy, felt now, becomes the cause. If receiving the letter of good news brings relief, then relief, felt now, becomes the creator of that very letter. If standing in the home you long for fills you with peace, then peace, accepted now, is the force that brings the home into form. The world, I tell you, is not moved by effort. It is moved by the inner atmosphere you faithfully inhabit. You cannot feel lack and receive abundance. You cannot feel loneliness and attract companionship. You cannot feel unworthy and be given anything that contradicts that sense of self. But when you feel the end, genuinely, consistently, naturally, you activate the law that reverses the process. You begin with the effect and let it become the cause. Let me explain this in the simplest way. If you had your desire right now, truly, undeniably, how would you feel? Would your shoulders relax? Would your breath deepen? Would your mind quiet itself? Would your chest warm with gratitude? Would there be a lightness, a calmness, a sweet sense of, yes, it is done? That feeling is not the result of the manifestation. It is the creator of it. And once you understand this, creation becomes effortless. Many years ago, a woman came to me distressed about her finances. Her bills exceeded her income, and she believed she could not escape her situation. Each night, she fell asleep, rehearsing fear. Each morning, she woke rehearsing anxiety. She thought that money would bring her relief. But I told her, my dear, you have it backwards. Relief must come first, and the money will follow. She looked at me, puzzled, as many do, for this law contradicts the logic of the senses. I told her, tonight, before you go to sleep, do not count your bills. Do not think of what you owe. Imagine instead how you would feel if, somehow, all was well. Imagine lying in bed knowing that you are secure, provided for, supported. Do not try to see numbers. Do not try to imagine checks. Simply capture the feeling of relief. She did this faithfully for a week, and one morning, unexpectedly, she received a letter informing her of an inheritance she had no knowledge of, a small sum, but enough to clear every burden. She did not create the inheritance. She created the relief, and the world rearranged itself to justify the feeling. This is the law of reversibility. A gentleman once told me he desired a promotion at his workplace. He imagined the office, the desk, the new title on the door, but he felt nothing. All his imagining was mechanical. I asked him, what would the promotion give you? He said, confidence. And I replied, then feel confident now. For a week he practiced walking with a new posture, speaking with a more assured tone, sitting as one who commanded respect. Within a month, his employer offered him not only the promotion he desired, but at a salary higher than he had thought possible. The world did not grant him confidence. His confidence compelled the world. Another student desired reconciliation with a relative after a long, bitter silence. She tried visualizing conversations, but her heart remained heavy. I reminded her, if the reconciliation were complete, you would feel warmth, you would feel peace, you would feel tenderness. She began each evening by cultivating those feelings, not directed toward the relative, but toward her own heart. Within days, the relative wrote to her unexpectedly, ending the estrangement. The feeling preceded the fact. This law works because consciousness is not passive. It is creative. The states you occupy become the events you meet. You must learn to work from the inside out. If love fulfilled brings a sense of being chosen, then enter now into the quiet dignity of feeling chosen. If success fulfilled brings satisfaction, then let satisfaction enter your being today, before a single change has occurred. If healing fulfilled brings peace, then let peace move through your body now, before the symptom dissolves. You are not waiting for the world is waiting for you. It is waiting for the signal of your inner atmosphere. You must not force emotion. You must not fake or strain for it. Simply withdraw attention from the old feeling and slip gently into the new one, as though stepping into a warm bath. Allow the atmosphere of the fulfilled desire to envelop you. This is the great reversal. This is the secret of creation hidden in plain sight. You begin with the end. You begin with the effect. You begin with the feeling. For the world, as I have said so many times, is nothing more than yourself pushed out. And when the self is calm, relieved, joyful, fulfilled, the world has no choice but to echo the inner state with mathematical precision. There comes a moment in the life of every earnest student of this law where the world of the senses rises like a great wall in front of him. It shouts its facts, points to its conditions, and insists with all the authority of experience, this is the truth. And unless you are grounded in a higher understanding, you will bow before those appearances and call them final. But I tell you now, as I have told thousands before you, facts are not truth. Facts are the shadows cast by a deeper cause. Truth is the unseen reality you hold within yourself. Facts belong to the past. Truth belongs to eternity. You must learn to separate the two if you wish to manifest anything consciously. A fact is simply the outpicturing of a former state of consciousness. It has no creative power. It does not dictate your future. It only reveals who you were. But truth, spiritual truth, is who you are now willing to be. When you assume a new state, that assumption is the truth, regardless of any outward contradiction. You must stop giving authority to appearances. They do not know who you are becoming. They only reflect who you were yesterday. When I speak of righteous judgment, I am not referring to moral judgment, but to right seeing. To look at things not as they appear to be, but as they ought to be, according to your desire already fulfilled. This is the meaning behind the words, judge not according to appearance, but judge righteous judgment. A man sees his bank account and says, this is who I am. A woman sees her loneliness and says, this is my truth. Another sees illness and accepts it as his identity. But these are not truth. They are facts. Temporary, shifting, fading forms. They persist only because the individual continues to give them life through attention. Let me give you a scene from my own experience. There was a time when my outward world contradicted every intention I held. My income was small, my opportunities limited, and the facts of my life seemed immovable. But I knew the law. I knew that if I allowed facts to dictate my inner state, I would merely reproduce them. And so, every night, I stepped into a new reality. I imagined abundance, ease, freedom, though nothing in my world suggested it was possible. I ignored the evidence of the senses and held fast to the inner truth. And the world, obedient as ever, rearranged itself to reflect that truth. It did not happen because I worked harder or struggled more. It happened because I refused to let facts define me. Another example, a man once came to me distressed because he was unemployed. He had been searching for work for months without success. Facts told him he was unwanted. Facts told him his situation was hopeless. But facts, I told him, are only the outpicturing of his past state. I instructed him, tonight, imagine yourself gainfully employed. Feel what you would feel if you were already working in the position you desire. Do not consider whether the job exists or how you will be hired. Simply assume the end. He did so faithfully, night after night, ignoring the daily evidence of rejection. And within a short time, he received an offer from a company that had previously dismissed him without a second thought. The position did not open because the company changed. It opened because he changed. This is the power of ignoring appearances. You are not denying facts. You are refusing to grant them creative authority. You are choosing a higher truth. For truth is not what the senses report. Truth is what you decree in imagination. And when you hold that truth with unwavering inner conviction, the facts will bow. They must, for the world is a slave to your assumption. When you walk by facts, you live a life of reaction. When you walk by truth, you live a life of creation. So when the world contradicts your desire, when the evidence screams impossible, when circumstances appear frozen, stand firm. Withdraw your attention from the outer world and return to the inner truth, knowing that what you accept within must become your experience without. Ignore appearances, not with defiance, but with quiet authority, not with struggle, but with knowing. Appearances are temporary. Truth is eternal, and truth, once felt and assumed, reshapes the world. There comes a point in this great interior work where you must release your tight grip on the how, the when, and the sequence of events. You see, many believe they are manifesting when in truth they are merely wrestling with shadows, trying to force the world into alignment with their desire, attempting to push the river rather than letting it flow. But manifestation is not the art of controlling circumstances. It is the art of surrendering to the higher self, the deeper dimension of your own being, that knows exactly how to bring your assumption into form. When you assume the end, when you have felt it as real, your work is finished. The rest belongs to the unseen activity of imagination. What we call the universe is simply your own deeper consciousness, arranging the pieces. It does not need your interference. It does not need your anxiety. It needs only your acceptance. I have said many times, you do not make it happen. You allow it to happen. If you attempt to dictate the steps, if you try to force conditions or orchestrate outcomes, you reveal that you do not yet believe the end is yours. Effort, strain, and mental tension are the children of doubt, and doubt is the only enemy you ever face. Surrender is not giving up. It is giving over the burden of creation to the one who created all things, your imagination. I remember a woman who once came to my lectures in Los Angeles. She had been imagining a new home for her family. Night after night, she assumed the feeling of living there. But during the day, she would fret, calculate, push, and worry about how such a home could possibly come into her possession. Her husband's income was modest, the prices were high, and every logical fact opposed her desire. One night she came to me in tears. "Neville, I am doing everything you say, but nothing is happening." I asked her gently, "Are you living in the end?" "Yes," she said. "Then why?" I asked, "Are you trying to rearrange the middle?" She grew silent. I continued, "If you stood on the balcony of your new home tonight and looked out over the view you desire, would you worry about the steps that brought you there? Would you analyze the path? Would you ask how it happened? No. You would simply live there. You would delight in the result and allow the bridge of incidents to unfold." Within 2 months, through a sequence of events she could never have planned nor predicted, she found herself holding the key to the very home she imagined. This is the beauty of surrender. Once you dare to assume the end, you must release the middle. You must trust the unseen activity of imagination to construct the path. Let me guide you now into a state of conscious surrender. Close your eyes if you can. Allow the breath to soften. Let the shoulders loosen and drop, as though a great weight is slipping away. Now imagine the desire that has filled your heart during this hour, not as a distant hope, but as a present reality. Feel the atmosphere of its fulfillment wrap around you like a warm garment. Hold that feeling gently, effortlessly. And now, loosen your grip. Let the image float, as if resting on still water. Say quietly within yourself, "It is done." Not as a command, but as a recognition. Again, softly, "It is done." Notice the subtle shift inside you, a certain quiet, a certain peace, as though something larger than your conscious mind has taken the desire into its hands. That is surrender. It is the moment where you stop creating with effort and begin creating through being. Now imagine your desire as a seed planted deep within fertile soil. Your work is not to dig it up, not to check on its progress, not to manipulate the roots. Your work is to let it grow. Feel now a wave of relief. Relief that the work is no longer yours. Relief that the burden has been lifted. Relief that the deeper self is moving on your behalf. Let that relief fill the body. Let it spread through the chest, the stomach, the throat, the hands. This relief is not idle emotion. It is creative power. In the law of reversibility, the relief you feel now becomes the event fulfilled later. Release every mental knot. Release every question of how. Release every doubt disguised as logic. You stand now as the one who knows, and knowledge needs no effort. Rest in this awareness. Everything is moving, shifting, rearranging according to your inner decree. Relax. Let the universe, your own vast consciousness, carry the desire to completion. The bridge of incidents is already forming. People are being moved. Doors are aligning. Paths are clearing. You need not lift a finger. Remain in this quiet certainty. It is done. There is a subtle art to sustaining imagination, and it is far gentler than most suppose. Many believe that to hold a vision is to grip it tightly with mental strain, to repeat it over and over, as if afraid it might slip away. But imagination thrives not under pressure, but under ease. It is a blossom, not a stone, a fragrance, not a command. When I say persist in the assumption, I am not asking you to wrestle with the mind. I am asking you to return, again and again, to the inner knowing that the end is already yours. Persistence is not force. Persistence is fidelity. Fidelity to the unseen reality you have chosen to occupy. You must understand this clearly. The moment you assume the wish fulfilled, a new state is born within you. And like any newborn state, it must be nourished, not with anxiety, but with quiet remembrance. So how do you sustain the vision without strain? You do it the same way you hold any cherished secret, softly, lovingly, with a sense of intimacy. You do not shout it, you do not clutch it. You simply return to it as one returns to a familiar melody, effortlessly. Imagine for a moment your fulfilled desire, whatever it may be, not in its grand dramatic form, but in a small, natural scene, something simple, something that feels like everyday life. Perhaps it is the feeling of financial ease, the freedom of walking without burden, the internal warmth of knowing you are secure. Perhaps it is the atmosphere of a loving home, or the sound of your name spoken with admiration. Choose a small fragment, a tiny detail that implies the whole. Now hold it lightly in your mind. Feel its quiet truth, and then allow it to fade naturally, as all images do. There is no need to cling, for sustaining imagination does not mean holding the scene continuously. It means returning to the scene faithfully, just as you would return to a pleasant memory. Whenever your mind drifts into old assumptions, you gently guide it back, without reprimand, without tension, without judgment. You do not scold yourself. You do not panic. You simply realign. This is the true meaning of persistence, the gentle refusal to return to the old state. I once told a student in New York, "You must occupy the state long enough for it to feel natural." And she asked, "How long is long enough?" I told her, "Long enough for the inner conversation to change." You know you are sustaining the vision when your inner speech begins to match the end. When your first instinct is no longer fear, but assurance. When you wake in the morning with a calm expectation rather than doubt. When the desire no longer feels like a hope, but like a quiet certainty. This is the shift. This is the sign that the state has taken root. Let me guide you now. Close your eyes, if you wish. Return to your scene, the small, simple moment that implies fulfillment. See it, hear it, feel it. Let it arise naturally. Let it color your inner atmosphere, and then allow it to settle gently, like a feather resting on still air. This is sustained imagination, not effort, not strain, but a steady leaning toward the end, again and again. And if ever you feel yourself drifting into the old story, simply whisper within, "That was who I was. This is who I am." Persist in this identity. Persist in this feeling. Persist in this inner truth until it becomes the only truth you know. For what you sustain within, life must eventually sustain without. And now, my friends, as we draw this hour to its quiet close, let us enter the stillness together, one final time. For all that needed to be said has been spoken, and all that needed to be awakened has begun to stir within you. You have heard the law, you have felt its movement, you have touched, if only for a moment, the truth that your desire already is. So let me leave you with this gentle knowing. It is already done, not tomorrow, not someday, not when conditions improve or circumstances align. It is done in the only place where creation ever occurs, in you. And because it is done within, it must, by the immutable law, reveal itself without. There is nothing more for you to force, nothing for you to chase, nothing for you to earn or wrestle into being. Creation is finished, and you have claimed your portion of it tonight. All that remains is rest. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and rest. Let the world rearrange itself without your interference. Let life move on your behalf. Let the unseen currents carry you. You have planted the seed, and no man digs up a seed to see if it grows. He trusts the soil. Trust yours. As I spoke many times in those early halls in Los Angeles, the Father and I are one, meaning your imagination and the fulfillment are not separate things, but one breath, one life, one act. Walk now with the quiet dignity of one who knows. Let your steps be soft, your mind untroubled, your heart at ease. For what you have assumed tonight will blossom in its perfect hour. And may this truth be sealed in you. You are the operant power. You are the one who calls things that are not seen as though they were. You are the dreamer, and the dream fulfilled. May peace attend you. May confidence rise in you. May your nights be filled with vision, and your days with the evidence of what you have accepted as real. And may this night be counted unto you for righteousness. It is done. It is finished. Rest now, and let the world reflect your assuming.